It's about. Thank you. Thank you. And now a lady at the front. Thank you. I'd like to come back on various points made yesterday and today. Christine Luka, the European Satellite Company, the SES, people have referred to industry policy. Mrs. Troutman did yesterday, and the importance of Europe's industrial policy. And the spectrum for me is a tool to produce new markets, services and important aspects of industry policy. And the second point would be value for money. We have to make it effective, and the technology developed for these spectra has to be productive. And perhaps satellite covers the whole of Europe's territory. At the moment, with the broadcasting capacity someone referred to yesterday, but also for broadband, and we're deploying these services in Europe with about 150,000 users of our system, which allows internet capacity being made available using DSL in price and speed to outlying areas. So with all these policies on the digital agenda, can people bear in mind the need for the most effective technological mix for outlying areas, which would leave spectrum for other applications? I think that's vital. On industrial policy, satellites are part of aerospace policy, which is part of the Lisbon Treaty now as a subject for competence of Commission and Parliament. And for me, it's important to see that new high technologies developed in aerospace can be preserved in Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I give the floor to, yes.
Philippa Marks, Plum Consulting and Ofcom Spectrum Advisory Board. There's been repeated mention of the FCC's policies with regard to wireless in the session today. And if you read the FCC document, you'll see many of the policies they're proposing are very similar to those in the discussion document in front of us, with one very major exception. The FCC is going to release spectrum quickly by paying incumbents to move. And frankly, the current situation that faces us all is that any spectrum reallocation will require incumbent users to move. They will incur costs in moving, and our societies are going to have to pay some of those costs if we want to see the kind of rapid change that has been talked about both by parliamentarians and the Commission today. And whilst this is clearly an issue for Member States primarily, since they control the levers here, I think it would be very helpful if there was a signal from the policy paper, the strategy paper, that if we want to get the benefits here, we have to invest, and we have to invest Member State money to get those benefits. And that may mean paying to move, paying to protect systems so that we maintain safety, security going forward. So while it's a grubby business, the money is the thing that's going to really move things here, I think. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That was the last on my list, but did I miss anyone? Yes, I actually did. You have the floor.
Thank you. Andrew Sterling, representing Microsoft. Microsoft spends a lot of time thinking about how to create greater innovation and allow consumers to enjoy, generate and share content. That's a key thing. Now we think 2015 is far too long to wait, and Europe needs to act urgently and radically to increase the sharing opportunities for spectrum. And that's through applying models like license exemption and hybrid licensing models. Cognitive technologies are a powerful tool for doing that, but they're not an end in themselves. We think the emphasis should be on enabling the simplest possible sharing schemes. Now, if our great-grandparents had been attending this event, say, about 80 years ago, I'm pretty sure they would have been worrying about the threat to radio from the emerging TV platform, and probably they would have been right to worry about that. But, of course, today the priorities are different, and if we were to ask teenagers, if we had teenagers represented here, I'm sure their perspectives would have been somewhat other. And, of course, our Ericsson colleague mentioned the potential of the Internet to support as much cultural and language diversity as we could possibly ever want. I'll just name one example of the Western Isles, where I know they've got a Gallic Media Broadcasting Centre that's plugged into the Internet, and they can share content with the islanders and also worldwide. So that's an amazing thing. Now, fairness to the industry today is not necessarily fairness to consumers and citizens tomorrow and to the future generations of our children. So let's be ambitious in creating flexibility and supporting innovation for their sake. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we have one more up there.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'm Scott Marcus. I'm with the Wissenschaftliches Institut für Infrastruktur und Kommunikationsdienst in Bonn. I'm also a former US FCCer, and with that in mind, I'd like to expand a little bit on the comment that Philippa Marx made a second ago. There is an interesting precedent from the United States where the U.S. military was vacating spectrum. I believe it was the 1710 megahertz band, and where some of the auction proceeds were used to essentially make them whole, to compensate their costs of vacating the band. This could be a useful mechanism. This kind of mechanism is something that we suggested could be used more in Europe in a report that we did for the European Commission that Philippa contributed to in 2008. Generally, the notion of helping to pay